Today, we're talking with Robin Bonduelle, co founder and CEO of Claap, about lessons learned from a big pivot, as well as automating our repetitive tasks so we can focus on what we do best. Welcome to BeyondSaaS. I'm Jason Niedle, founder of Tethos. Today, I'm really excited to explore tech company growth with Robin. He co-founded and is currently the CEO of Claap. And Claap offers a coordinated team of AI agents that handle the sales busy work so that your sales team can spend more time building out real relationships and closing faster. And this includes a lot of cool features, note templates and automations to your stack, and an AI co-pilot and CRM syncing and coaching and deal insights and follow-up emails and transcript search and onboarding. And it looks really pretty amazing. And it relieves the admin tasks from your sales team. So again, they can do what they do best. I also hear, Robin, that you are a sponsored endurance athlete, which makes sense, kind of with his fail fast and learn faster mindset. So I'm excited to have you here. Welcome, Robin.
Hi, really nice to meet you. Thanks for the invite.
And thanks for coming later at night from France. I appreciate that. Hey, before we jump in, do you have a quick tip for our listeners?
Yeah, I think I have like two really good books that have been helping me from day one. The first one is actually Play Bigger. Audience might already know about them. Like it's the marketing pirates. They call themselves like this. And the idea is how you craft your own category instead of just like trying to be on like more player on the same market. It's how you can frame a problem. And when people understand how you frame the problem and understand the problem, then they identify you to bring the solution. And so it's really about like how you can build a new category, how companies like Uber and Airbnb started like a new category, and how you can try to do it when you create your own venture. The second one maybe is more like operational, I would say. But when I started the company, I was in product management for the past 15 years. And so I had like leadership positions before, but not CEO and executive positions. And so it's The Great CEO Within, which is another book. And it's really brings like great, like learnings about how you can define a culture that is efficient. So organization, culture, operations to really make like the company ready to scale and to be efficient. So these two books, like how to create and position yourself within a good category and how to operate your company as a CEO, were really helpful to me.
Those are great. And tell us the two titles again real fast.
Yeah, Play Bigger for
Play
the market
Bigger.
one, and The Great CEO Within for the kind of
And the
CEO.
great CEO within. I always think this idea of creating a category is really interesting because there's so much new technology today. And I've worked with a lot of companies and they're really doing a similar thing, but they're kind of pushing the boundary a little bit. And then we have these discussions like, well, are you going to redefine yourself as a new category? Which there's a lot of education that comes into it and people aren't searching for that necessarily. So how do you round the keywords there and how do you do that? But if you manage to attain that, then you're right. You become the Airbnbs and the Ubers of the world.
Yeah, it's super interesting because before, like during, my MBA and so on before, I was exposed to the blue ocean and red ocean strategy. And I think that most of us have been exposed to that. The problem is that when you have a product, it's not all blue or red. It's really up to you to define and to craft your storytelling and your narrative to really be a bit like leaning toward the red or leaning toward the blue. Like all things considered and all things equal, your messaging has an impact. And this is what I learned with this book, the Pirates and Play Bigger. And the reason is you can frame the promised land, what your product, what your company will bring to your users, and frame the before and after state. And so it's all about finding your point of view, what they say, the POV, to craft it. But again, it's not taken for granted that your product is either blue or red. It's really what you make with it and how you craft a category from your existing business.
And I like this idea of framing the before and after state.
Yeah, that's really a toolkit. Of course, there are several examples within the book, but it's also how they can give you a whole system, a lot of tactics, and that you can apply. And in my previous position, I was leading the product at a company called Augury. We were, just to let you know, like to give you an idea, 500 within the company. And so it was already pretty mature. The product itself was like Criteo, like mobile advertising, and pretty mature, already like a unicorn and so on. And we welcomed a new CMO, Eli. Eli was an amazing guy and he was really fond of this book. He's the one who kind of shared this book with me in the first place. And it was like amazing to see how in a couple of months we completely pivoted the messaging and the positioning of the company. Everything was remaining the same, but it just it was so logical the way he framed the product we addressed, and everything later became fluent. And so it's a set of tools that you can apply whatever the maturity level of the company.
I think I need to read that book because in the past year, I've been looking at what we do. In the past, we were a design shop and people would come here and say, make a website. And we'd make a website and we didn't take responsibility for the results of that website. We just made the website. And then within the past year, we've really switched our model to be growth partners where we say, sure, we'll make the website and we do those same services, but we're responsible for the results. And so we'll guarantee an ROI. And your results are you want sales, you want leads. It might be their job to close the sales, but it's my job to deliver qualified leads now. And in some ways, we're doing many of the same things that we're doing, but in other ways, the messaging is completely different. The responsibility, the internal and external messaging is different. Yes, you're going to do that same job, but now you're just not like, oh, it's pretty. No, now it's effective.
Yeah, and you need all your touch points to be super consistent. If your salespeople, your sales team is selling from a different perspective than your, overall overarching marketing concept and presentation and what they call POV, again, point of view, on the category, then there is a mismatch. And so what you want to do is really to review all your collaterals from marketing to sales to customer success to product and so on, to ensure that the storytelling basically is consistent. So it's really I don't like too theoretical books, because I feel that it's always super hard to apply them on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So it's just a mix of recipes, and you can pick examples and recipes.
Love that. Man, there's so many things I could talk about here. We have a Photoshop tutorials company that we run, and we don't teach someone when we're using Photoshop to say, well, here's a tool, here's how to select something, and here's how to do this, and here's how to do that. We don't teach each tool. We look at it as a recipe-based learning, and we say, okay, we want someone to be able to accomplish this particular path, and now we'll show them the tools they use it. And I always think about that. If I were going to a cooking class, I don't want someone to say, here's how to fry. I want them to say, here's how we make this dish.
Yeah. Or frame a problem. So what's your problem when you try to cook or when you try to fry or whatever? And then the solutions, the promised and desired land. You really need to showcase a promised land that people will crave for it. And in terms of kind of small hacks, you don't have to reinvent completely out of nowhere category keywords. You can take an existing category and just put an adjective before to make it super appealing. For instance, transportation before Uber was kind of broken with taxis and so on. And what they brought was instant local transportation or something like this. I don't remember the exact term. You will read the book. But my point is, it's really about how you can just with one single word frame the context and the problem and the solution that you're going to bring, even if it's on a super mature category. For instance, CRM, Salesforce did this with of course, super well-known example, but you had this on-premise, super heavy software system, and they brought it with the SaaS and invented the SaaS. So this is kind of how you can frame your business.
Good. So let's talk about a recipe. Tell me how Claap is redefining categories.
That's a really good example, and I think that, of course, this is what we try to do. First, as you mentioned during the introduction, we've been through a pivot, and there is a before the pivot and an after. And so for us, we had a very consistent way to present ourselves in the beginning pre-pivot. What we wanted to do was to create asynchronous meeting solutions. Back in 2021, we went in the middle of the lockdown and COVID situation, and remote work was everywhere, and everyone was just suffering in endless meetings all day long. And there was no real solution for asynchronous and remote solution beyond written format. Of course, you could write long memos and emails, but what we wanted to do was really to bring this asynchronous way of working, but with video. And the category back in the days, we eventually pivoted because I think that the parent category was not big enough, but it was Loom, the short video. Loom did a fantastic job. They created the record button of the internet. Just one click, you record, super seamless. But the product depth and the promise was a bit because when you wanted to make a decision and engage in a discussion, you needed to go in the Slack thread or in the email thread or even have a meeting. And so what we did with Claap was really to try to frame this asynchronous meeting desired land, where you can have like a place to engage with your remote team, not in real meetings, but through videos, but that are really like asynchronous, powered with rich collaboration. And so we did this before and after. Really, like it was on our previous website, it was super clear. You had like this endless time in meetings or endless email threads that no one reads at one point. And then at the middle, we had like this desire land, which is Clap, and helping you to like collaborate in a more visual way and easy way. The problem that we faced is that when you have a narrative and when your business evolve, and in our case it was completely reseated with the pivot, you create marketing and messaging depth. This was I'm not sure it was addressed in the Play Bigger book, but this is really something that we faced. Our brand was really strong, but we suffered because for a long time we didn't completely destroy the brand and create a new brand. And so we had to deal with this messaging depth and marketing depth to bring a new positioning. And so this is what we are trying to do right now with our new solution that you described in the introduction.
Very interesting. Tell me a little bit more about the new solution and maybe about like how that pivot happened.
Yeah, so the pivot happened because we realized that the category, as I said, the parent category was not big enough. When you have a look at the like Loom category, video messaging category, this is really like a subset, and it didn't really take off. In spite of all what we could expect in 2021 and 2022. The second issue is, or opportunity, I would say, is that we focused a lot. One of our main challenges was that we focused on product-led growth. We really took a bet about getting organic virality, a freemium model. We went all in on product-led growth and PLG strategies. The problem that we faced is that it was kind of relying on gambling to scale the business. We had really good usage and engagement. Someone could say vanity metrics. And we, at one point when we really started to monetize, we ended up realizing that even if we had some good successes and we managed to sign great clients, the problem was that it was really hard to create a repeatable business. Because you needed to have organic variety, so first sign up within the company and then a cluster and so on and so on. And so one of the reasons we changed is, of course, the category itself was less dynamic than expected, but it's also that we wanted to create a more repeatable business where we could, really build a strong and healthy business plan. And you bring X in investment, you know that you're going to get Y in ROI. And for this reason, we pivoted to a new positioning, a new category that I will explain quickly. And we pivoted to a new system, like a new go-to-market motion, which is pairing product-led growth, because it's still good, I think, to bring in users and inbound, like product qualified leads, but also, a sales-led model where sales is really efficient to give you visibility on your business. And what we do now is, the idea with Clap emerged from our pivot journeys. When we try to adapt the business and establish this repeatable sales playbook, we discovered that there was no effective way to extract actionable insights from our customer conversations. And we're somehow drowning in meeting recordings, but we couldn't access critical signals when needed. And so I heard in one of your last podcasts that you mentioned fireflies. There are a lot of AI note takers. It's a crowded category. The problem is usually you're going to get super polished and crisp notes about the meeting. But if you really want to have insights at the company level, getting a view and patterns from all your recordings and all your voice of customer, it's becoming a problem. And so this is what we try to do with Clap. We solve this very critical problem. Despite the current AI push, companies capture less than maybe 5% of the value from the most valuable data source, which is customer conversations. What we want to do with Clap is create an open and flexible data platform that structures conversation data and makes it truly actionable. Maybe just to give you an illustration, if you think about Clay, you're going to be able to enrich your leads with external data. Clap, you're going to be able to do exactly the opposite, enrich your leads and prospect and so on, but mining in all your data to create structured insights about all the discussion and voice of customer. And from this, so if you think about a new offering, for instance, with your business, if you want to start a new offer or if you want to change your pricing and so on, so much happens all business critical questions happen within like calls with clients and prospects. And so this is really a way to like get it, structure it, and then make it actionable because we feed tools, integrations, and AI agents.
So I guess if I'm being honest here, I feel like that part of the story resonates far more with me, like enrich from what, learn more from what's happening internally than reduce admin from sales calls. And I know there's a lot of admin from sales calls, but hearing that part of the story of like, wow, I get this data that I never had before, and I can really aggregate from my 15 salespeople what's really happening, that, oh, this one price product is too high, or they're not showing value there. Like that's mind blowing, really.
Thanks for the feedback, but that's let's be humble here. What I said about this messaging, you really illustrate the messaging and positioning depth. When we pivoted, we started with the like basic meeting recorder such as Fireflies, and we wanted people to understand what we do.
Mhm.
And now that we have like
And
a
that makes
great
sense.
product, we really want to build and elaborate on this POV. And so what you can see on our marketing website and what you can see like on our official com is something that we are currently like smoothly reinventing
Mm.
to try to embrace this new category, which is a bit different. Of course, the product 50-60% is like Fireflies and other note takers. But what we really want to do is to explain how we are different, because it's all about making this voice of customer structured, flexible, and actionable.
Yeah. And by the way, I wasn't saying that it wasn't valuable, right? Like,
No,
absolutely
but
reducing that admin is very valuable, but I got more excited when I heard the broader story.
and that's the point exactly. That's why I'm pretty happy with your remark, because it's really the same product, but you can frame it from different perspective. And this is how you can build and that's why it's not only about red ocean or blue ocean. It's really about how you make your category and problem resonate.
Yeah.
Now you feel the pain from what I said, and then you want a solution. Hopefully, we'll try to be the solution.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, and you know what? Other people, just because I felt one way doesn't mean that bigger sales teams, right? They're sales teams with hundreds of people, and maybe they're feeling that other pain point far more than I am, right? As well.
Sure. What we do is we try to use Clap. We are the first customers of Clap. And so from all the interactions, we are still like in the early days, but we have 600 clients.
Mm.
Growing the pipeline, and so we start to have like insights, and this goes in this direction. Now we need to polish, and I'm not the marketing guy of the team. We have someone very good within the team, but we need to dig into all this data using Clap and come up with a great vision.
Yeah, it's so fun to, it's like a Rubik's Cube where you have to solve this big puzzle, but I see how in a way you can be providing a solution that they haven't seen before.
Exactly. And the
Yeah.
problem when you try to enter this, what I've seen in other companies and what I've seen with us, one of the risks is when you become too theoretical to try to invent a very niche problem for the sake of creating a problem and try to differentiate yourself for the sake of differentiation. But then you start finding problems that no one cares about. And so it's all a question of balance. It's great to be within a big category enough that people understand. And you don't want to always like reinvent the wheel, because otherwise you keep chasing like ghosts.
Yeah. So let's talk about growth really fast. Now that you've found product market fit, how are you looking to grow this year? What's your KPI, and where are you looking to skyrocket to?
Yeah, and at the moment, so 1 year ago, it was early July 2024, we completely reseated and relaunched the product. Now, in 9 months, we reach, as I said, 600 clients. Mostly worked on the product, to be honest, because when you have this vision, it's great to have a good positioning and good narrative, but you need to have like something you need to deliver. And I'm the product guy of the team, so it's on my shoulders to deliver that product. And so most of the team today is really like focusing on product, and we only have one people focusing on sales, for instance. So that's really the early days, and all the traction so far has been in a kind of test and learn. The next phase for us will be to scale go to market. And this is going to go in two directions. What we want to do, if I give you like a quick roadmap, we didn't completely give up on product-led growth. We really feel, as I said before, that it's a good way to attract people and to generate qualified leads. And so what we do is we have what we call low touch motion, which is fed by product-led growth, organic virality, free trial, and so on. And we have high touch motion. When we have like a lead in our ICP, whether from outbound or from product qualified lead, we take it with our sales team that we're going to hire. And so we're going to, in the next couple of months, scale these two motions, basically the low touch motion and the high touch motion.
It's interesting. I was talking with someone who's doing really well, and later they showed me their Facebook ad. And I see these Facebook ads all the time, but they really went pretty far in pre-qualifying their leads. They said, when are you looking to buy? How much are you looking to spend? And they had categories, and they had like 3 questions. And I'm like, people are answering these questions because to me it felt like it would be a huge barrier, but they pre-qualified themselves. And he took the people that answered, half the questions the wrong way, that they weren't an ICP, and they just went to a different landing page, that the low touch free trial kind of a thing. And then the other ones got sent to him. And he said it's costing him about $100 a lead, but his leads are worth 5 grand and he's closing half of those. Right. And so I'm like, $200 a close at 5 grand. Who cares? You do that all day long. Right. But it was interesting how he was willing to do things that I would have been resistant to do in that pre-qualification, but people are willing to do it. Are you finding ways to pre-qualify?
Yeah, so at this stage we do standard forms, but we have been testing for a couple of weeks AI pre-qualification. When you book a demo, basically as a prospect, or when we identify you as a product qualified lead, we're gonna research you, and it's all by email to simplify. But a bot is going to engage with you and ask. So they already know you because we research the contact and the company, and also we have all the usage in case of product qualified lead about what you did in the product. And so we take all this knowledge to try to build like a discussion. We don't hide that it's a bot. It's really like, hey, I'm here to really like explain how Clap works and make the most of the demo and so on. And so it's more in a discussion way. And then we process all this to kind of fill the boxes that we need to qualify the customers and prospects. But all this is done through like discussions, pre-demo discussions.
I think it's really smart. And I love that, of course, you're using your own product and your own tools to make that happen,
Not
because that
only,
has,
to be honest, of course we do that, but as I said, we enrich. There is a lot of vibe coding, and
yeah, yeah.
we really leverage everything that is out there at the moment to send emails, to be reactive, to write, and with the relevant mood and tone and so on. So of course there is like a backbone of what we learn is coming from Clap, but it's really also a lot of vibe codings around that to really
Sure.
bring a consistent experience.
Sure. So, what's holding you back from your growth goal, or not maybe holding you back, but what is holding you back from growing even faster internally? What's your constraint?
That's a good question. I think that we need to come up with what we discussed. So our new positioning to really be clear on the foundations of what we do, because at the moment we still have a lot of messaging depth from the previous business and from the early days of this new pivot. Somehow we are super new in the business because it has been with the new business only 9 months. So even if like the business is scaling like in a correct way, we are not mature at all. And so I think that when you want to scale, I like the concept of convexity. This is something that we try to apply internally. It's laying the foundations that's going to help you to scale faster tomorrow. Of course, we don't want to completely forget about the YC, advice and so on. But now that we have like some foundations, we really, instead of following, a steady curve, we really want to have this convexity where we are ready to prepare the foundations for the future scale. And so this can take a lot of example, but I was mentioning vibe coding and all what we do in order to nurture our inbound and outbound. For instance, we get like a lot of hacks to get people, and we built internally with Lovable a platform to qualify the leads and reach them, and in one click send a message to them. So somehow it's a mix of Clay, of Apollo, of all these tools. And it takes a while, but now that it is in place, it's really making us way more efficient at contacting people and getting people and leads within the funnel. And so my point is what's preventing us at the moment, fixing the messaging and preparing the ground to really unlock this acquisition part. What we didn't fix is automation of sales, and so it's also, as I said, hiring people on basically sales reps. You
One
need to
thing,
be,
one thing
even
at a
if you have
time.
AI, you need to build connection and human relationship. This is critical.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's always amazing how much there is to do. And I think as a CEO and founder, you might be great at product, and then you get to learn another side of things, and then and then the business changes and you get to figure out like, how do I level up as an individual, and how do I learn what I need to learn to go to the next phase? And I think that's always a really interesting part of all the things we talk about here, because most of the founders They started somewhere and then they had to learn to be a CEO, and then there you get to a plateau and you got to learn how to get yourself through it.
Yeah, I read something that I found pretty relevant. Every 6 months, you try to fire yourself, saying you try to see and imagine what would the company be like if you are not there. And
Mhm.
so it's a way for you to really break the dependency of the team and product and company around you. And you can really see the critical bottlenecks. And then you try to fix it, whether it's automation, delegation, hiring, whatever. And when you do it, 6 months later, you do it again. And so it's a way for you to go through all the different like functions and areas of the company, and one after the other, break or fix the bottlenecks that you represent.
Maybe that's why yesterday on a podcast I had someone bring that up to me, and he said I try to reinvent myself every 6 months. So he must have read that.
Not reinvent fire. It's more I fired myself on the product side. The team is almost like autonomous on the product side. Now I'm
Mm.
more leaning toward go-to-market, and I hope I'm gonna be able to fire myself from go-to-market in the next couple of months.
Beautiful. I love that. I think every company out there, especially tech leaders, they're looking at AI, and I guess we could put this in a growth context. Like how do we use these tools to grow? What should we be looking for?
That's a good question. For me, AI, without any doubt, is super transformative. There will be a before and after, and I think that's my personal opinion. It's no way similar to in terms of order of magnitude compared to the previous like revolutions, whether it's internet or industrial revolution and so on. For me, it's gonna be completely different, the impact. And so we need as leaders to have everyone within the company not afraid but embracing this trend. I really liked, to this extent, maybe you've seen it, it made some noise, but the post from Shopify CEO where he explained about how everyone at Shopify is really pushed, and like using AI is not considered as an option, but is really considered like taken for granted as part of the role.
You better be using it every day, right?
So I think that there is a question of internal management, internal operations. And so you need to check like area by area. Like I mentioned about firing the CEO before, but it's also firing human touch so that you can see on all individual workflows what can be done by AI. Now, when it comes to the product, my feeling and what we want to do with Clap is we have see great agents coming in, great capabilities, but the path toward AGI will be blocked if we don't bring enough memory, brain, and context to all these AI agents. And so this is part of what we believe is missing today and what we try to fix with Clap, at least on the voice of customer side. Just to give you an analogy, you could get a McKinsey or any other tier one consultant to help you. But if you don't give them all the context they need, then they won't be able to do much. And it's as if today with AI agents, you need to give all the time, all the context with each single individual interaction, giving the
Mm,
prompt all what
true.
you, and it's not working. So my feeling is, I think that LLMs are really becoming powerful, but the next frontier and battle is bringing them with all the context they need to be fully efficient. And RAG is not enough. I know that anyone talked about RAG. RAG is great, but RAG is not enough. That depends on the need. That depends on your use case. But you really need to have different and other strategies to bring this context. Something else I'm really curious about at this stage is about the interconnection of all these tools. And we are
Yeah.
super like bold about MCP, whether it's this protocol or another one, a protocol will come, a simple protocol will win, and that's gonna really tie agents together. But the context, brain, and memory is really like fundamental. Otherwise, we'll just have super powerful tier one consulting firm working for you without any context and brain.
I think that's the clearest way I've heard it stated on any of these 40 podcasts. So thank you for putting it in a little bundle right there. I love that. Any final thoughts? Anything else we forgot to talk about?
I think it was super great. Like I was very happy to be invited because it's always hard to talk about your challenges sorry, when you grow. And usually you hear about success stories, but after they happened and not what's blocking and preventing you to grow. And I could elaborate way more, but because that's what's exciting on a daily basis. But I really like the angle of the podcast. So thanks for the discussion.
No, I really appreciate being here, and this has been great. I learned a lot. I'm definitely going to look up the book as well, and I'm going to look into Clap myself because I think it looks amazing. How can our audience find you?
I'm like posting a lot on LinkedIn, Robin Bonduelle with my French accent. For Clap, we have a Clap website. Like I'm sure you're gonna share it in the description. But LinkedIn is on like main medium to share like news and updates.
Perfect. And that website is claap.io, clap,
Yeah,
CLAAP.
definitely. And if you have trail runners listening to us, I'm a heavy runner on the UTMB format, so I'm pretty happy as well to talk about trail if anyone is interested.
Try to find those cool trail runner AI people out there.
Yeah, I think that's a great mix.
Robin, thank you for being on Beyond SaaS. For tech leadership out there, we're committed to exploring growth. So we drop episodes twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And you can find me, Jason Niedle, at tethos.com, TETHOS.com. And don't forget to grab that hyperscale playbook at tethos.com/podcast. If you got some value today, I really appreciate sharing and questions and comments. So go ahead and leave those. That helps us out a lot. Until next time, this is Beyond SaaS.